Good morning all. Now we are going to discuss about why data model, which means why we are going to use this data model in RDBMS. So first, schema. So what is schema? So the overall design of a database is called a schema, which contains the data requirements of an particular organization. And always the schema represents blueprint of how the database is constructed, which means the overall structure which represents the schema. And then it includes DDL, which defines the schema. Finally, what is data model? This is the higher level description of the schema. It's an overall design, or we can say that it represents the blueprint. So this is the formal definition of data model, which is an integrated collection of concepts for describing and manipulating data and their relationships between the data and include some constraints on the particular data in an organization. What are all the components which are included in this data model? So first one is structural part, manipulative part, and then set of integrity constraints. So in structural part, it contains a set of rules in according to their database which can be constructed. A manipulative part which defines the types of operations that are all allowed on the particular data. Set of integrity constraints which verifies the data accuracy. And what are all the types of data model and what are the purpose of data model? So purpose of data model is to represent the data and to make the data more understandable format. If it does this, then it can be easily used to design a database in a neat and professional manner. So these are all the broad categories of data model. What are all they? So object based, record based, and then physical data model. First, object based data model. Object based data models, it contains entities, attributes, and relationships. The common types of object oriented data models are ER diagrams, semantic models, functional model, and it includes some object oriented concepts. So this is the example of ER diagram, which means entity relationship diagram for library management applications. So here books, publisher and member all the entities and published by, borrowed by are the relationship. So the attributes can be represented as a oval shaped. Record based data model. A database consists of a number of fixed format records are called as records. Fixed collection of files are called as records. So fixed number of formats which includes the record based data model. So each record type which defines a fixed number of fields, typically of fixed length. It should be in a fixed length manner. So what are all the other three principal types of record based logical data model? So relational data model, network data model, and then hierarchical data model. So first, what is relational data model? So we are know that data and their relationships are always represented as tables in RDBMS concept. So each table has a number of columns with a unique name. This is the example for relational databases. So which contains branch number, street, city, postcode, etc. And a staff which contains staff number, F name, I name, position, and sex, date of birth, salary, and then branch number. So these are all the two tables we can include it for the branch and then staff table. Network data model. So network data model, which consists a collection of records and their relationships, are represented by a sets, which contains a generalized graph structure. So here we have to note it like generalized graph structure. This is the most important concept. So with records appearing as nodes, which is called as segments, and sets as represented edge in the graph. So we can say like nodes and edges. So these are all the two important terms. Why? Because these two nodes and edges are represented used to define the network model. This is the example. So here these are all called the nodes and these links are called the edges. So hierarchical data model, which means a restricted type of data model, and it allows a node to have only one parent, which means hierarchical data model represents like a parent-child relationship. We can also represent it as a tree graph structure with records appearing as nodes, also called as segments, and sets as edges. So this is the example of hierarchical data model. So here, so this is what called as parent, and these are all called the child. So these are all the links or edges. These are all called the nodes. So it's like a tree structure, like this, and so on. So this is what called as hierarchical model. Physical data model, which means how the data is stored in the computer. What is the difference between physical data model and logical data model? So physical data model means how the data is stored in the computer. So what is logical model? What are all the data which is stored in the data models? That's the difference between physical and then logical data model. So it describes how the data is stored in the computer, which represents the informations like record structures, record orderings, and access points. Types of physical models are unifying model and then frame memory. So these are all the very important concepts which are included in this data model concepts. I hope you all understand. Thank you all.